Well, I am back, and oh my, what a time to arrive back. Um, if there is one thing that we have seen from the Tory party in recent weeks, it is really the abject despair they have been in. I mean, you've had polls recently that have put them in third place. And yes, I was still peeking in on Conservative Home to see what was going on and what they were making of all this. And one article in particular was in abject despair as they were now contemplating what the reality might be if they were to come in third place. Now, I've said before, that is a possibility this could happen. But this is very much a tactical voting initiative. Get out there, go and stop the Tories, look at what you need to vote to make sure you defeat the Tories as much as hard as you can. Because I must stress this, we have, once again, an opportunity of a lifetime to absolutely, and I mean absolutely 100% wipe the Tories out. And they know it. They are terrified of this new reality that they might be coming into some sort of, um, reality. And one of the things that we've talked about in the past was, and even on Conservative Home, worrying, panicking, having fever dreams in the night, worrying, waking up in cold sweats. The Tory MPs, oh my God, I had a terrible dream. Nigel Farage had returned. I know, I'll just turn on the TV. Oh no, what's he doing in Clacton? Oh no, the dream, the nightmare has become reality. And that is the situation we are now in. Nigel Farage has now returned. And all all the polls back in the day, even before the general election was announced, were showing that if Nigel Farage came back to head Reform and was to stand, this would split the right vote even more, causing even more Tory losses. So it is absolutely imperative that if Nigel is going to stand, well, hey, I don't like the guy, but hey, it's going to split the Tory vote in really brilliant way for us. That works so much in our favour. But before we get more, of course, into talking into sort of Nigel Farage, why has he returned? The possibilities, the panic, of course, going on in the Tory party at the moment about all this. Yeah, please, as always, remember to hit the like, the share, and of course, down below there are the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. There's the links down below as well to the Pony Club, the Patreon page, the Buy Me a Coffee link where you can buy me coffee, and of course, the YouTube thank you button as well. So go check one of those out if you want to help support the channel. And of course, let's crack on with today's show. And oh boy, what a doozy! Because when I heard Farage was making a big announcement, I was like, well, what is this going to be? Is this going to be maybe them like Reform using Farage as their manifesto launcher? I initially suspected that's what the case was going to be because up until this moment, I had generally thought Farage was not going to get back in the fray because it really did seem that he was being coy about it. Am I going to return? Am I not? That he'd actually generally been fed up of actually sort of being involved in politics, but he was quite fine to sort of maybe be a bit of a front man for Reform UK during a general election. And that's what I suspected was about to happen, that we were about to see some sort of, manifesto launch from Reform UK. However, really, when you look at it from another point of angle, the surprise general election announcement didn't just catch off the Conservatives, was what we've seen with many Conservatives almost thinking that Rishi Sunak was going to have the general election in autumn. So too did it look like the Reform UK thinking that as well, even initially getting the date of the general election wrong on an official post. So yeah, really prepared there, guys. But another thing I think that's worth factoring into why he also might have returned. Remember, Farage's big meal ticket was he wanted to go to America. Part of his big, fun loop, shall we say, in 2020 was going to be he was going to go on the US speaker circuit. He was going to make a ton of money, saying how brilliant Brexit was and all that, and etc. etc. that he was going to do. But he was going to make an absolute boatload of cash. Of course, that did not happen because of COVID. And he has really, really been salty about that. That's why he was very, very much on board on a lot of like the anti-lockdown stuff, because obviously if that lockdown stuff wasn't in place, well, then his tour, his public speaking tour could have gone ahead, and he could still have made an absolute ton of cash on that speaker circuit. But the other big thing was he was very, very much linked to, of course, Donald Trump. He was planning, by the looks of it, in fact, I think he let the cat out of the bag that he was far more focused on Trump's campaign than he was even looking at what was going on in UK politics. So we know that this announcement caught not only Reform, but even Farage himself off guard. And I think just seeing how bad the first week of the Tory campaign had gone, the fact that they have lost in the polls again, done down even more. We'll see how the debates, if it shifts, although I don't think it will, to be honest. But we'll see what happens when we get some more numbers and more polling on that. But interestingly enough, we are now seeing a lot of information that Farage might have decided to do this because of obviously Trump's convictions. That actually, maybe I need to put some different distance between me and Don. So what better way to do that than to say, sorry, Don, I've got to go fight a general election back in Blighty. Bye. Perfect timing. Almost a perfect timing to a T, when you might need to put some distance between yourself and Donald Trump at this, shall we say, awkward time for Trump himself. So obviously Farage is now back in the saddle, as not only that, but also as the leader of Reform UK. So he is now fully back in this. He is riding that. We remember the polls prior to even the general election starting, that if Nigel was to come back, this would split the right vote for the Tories even more, leading to more losses. And of course, this was, as we described before, this was the Tory nightmare. And that nightmare has now become reality. And once again, this offers us massive, massive opportunities here. We have to really now start getting the word out, start really committing to that tactical voting. None of this, the Tories are toast, vote with your conscience lark, because, hey, look what happened at Uxbridge. Remember, guys, that vote was lost by 400 votes. If the Lib Dems or Greens had committed to tactical voting in that campaign, which many did, but again, just enough, you may get seats where you could have had a Tory loss, but they managed to squeak through. And that is why I've consistently said that message is dumb. It's ridiculous. Go all in on this election and go tactical voting, even if you are in a safe seat, because I think that really sort of needs to drive it home even more just how bad they lost. So that is what I think we have to sort of really deliver. That is what we have to sort of really focus on. And the fact that Farage has come back has probably just done us a massive favor. Now, obviously, he's standing in Clacton. That's pretty much almost, well, Farage is hoping he can win there, essentially. That's why he's chosen Clacton. I believe Reform came in third there. But of course, you've got to look at the polls, the fact that, Farage, etc., he's a bit of a character. Unfortunately, I really do worry about that seat. That seat might actually be Farage's 8th time lucky. Hopefully it's not. And, it's the 8th, time he's standing for Parliament and he fails. Let's hope that's the case. But of course, I do worry, once again, just as we've said with Donald Trump, his chances of losing aren't zero, but they're not good. Just as Farage standing there, again, his chances of losing, aren't zero, but they are not 100% either. Even, I would say, maybe even 50%. If he's going to sort of roll the dice, take a chance of trying to be elected, well, then Clacton was indeed his best seat to shoot for. So Until then, like I say, the Tory nightmare has now become reality. The Tories are now panicking. They just put them into an absolute purdah. And oh boy, looks like potentially the Tory civil war might have started already, but that's for the next video tomorrow. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.